Well, let's bring in BT now. Brendan Taman joining us on video chat this morning, former Saskatchewan Roughriders GM. And there he is, joining us from beautiful BC this morning. BT, how are you, my friend?
Roddy, how are you? Good.
Very well, thank you. Very well. A little more white in the beard. Can you? Oh, Smitty's throwing his headphones on. Hang on.
Oh, that's too bad. Is he still there? I thought he'd leave.
What did he say?
Are you guys able to boost Brendan's volume? Certainly in my ear. I'm not sure if you guys can hear him too well.
I can't hear him.
But
he's kind of a quiet guy.
He's a quiet guy to begin with. Speak louder if you can, Brendan. But Smitty wanted to be on here for sure when you were on, so maybe I'll just let you guys take over. But he can hear you now, BT. What did you have for Smitty?
Nice hat.
Thank you very much.
Looks good.
We got you.
Appreciate it. Good old Yankee fan back there in BC.
Yeah. Silver Fox, how are you doing?
Hey, it's anytime I get a chance to talk to you, it's an honor and a privilege, especially when we're at a WWF event together.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's even better. I figured one of you would get up out of your chair and leave, but that's good you both stayed.
Never.
BT, I'm going to start here with the media role in your column yesterday, which I just thought was fascinating, on the Riders' contract talks with Cody Fajardo and the importance of quarterbacking when it comes to putting together a salary cap. And maybe for the viewers that didn't read it, tell us again what you wrote there and where things are at between the Riders and their quarterback as we head into the final stretch.
Well, one of the things in the football business is that I found that was really hard was the business part of it. And they're into a situation now where they got a real interesting problem on their hands. I shouldn't say it's a problem, but the good thing for Saskatchewan, Jeremy's been through some of these, so he's experienced at doing it. But it isn't easy for sure. It's going to be tricky because there's so many variables involved with all of it. But I think the kid's going to have a lot of loyalty to them just because they gave him a chance. I don't know any of this. And that's one thing, Rod, I find hard about being on the outside is I don't know really what's going on, just like you guys, right? So it's sort of a guesswork. And I don't try to pretend like I know exactly what's going on because in reality I don't. But it's very, very challenging. And anytime you can get a guy signed to this extent of that importance to your team, it's a big coup if you can do it. But I'll say this, it won't be easy. There's no easy fix to this one.
I'm kind of surprised that you figured out how to do the video chat. What happened?
Well, Smitty, it took me probably a day and a half, to be honest with you. I didn't sleep last night because I was worried it wouldn't work.
When are you going to come to Regina? Kathy's going to make you some pizza.
When you leave.
Yeah. And you can come and you can watch 3 screens. We can watch football all day.
I don't know how you do that, Smitty. I never did understand how you did that because I have a problem following one at a time, let alone 2 or 3 like you do. But
well, that says something, doesn't it? Doesn't that say something?
It does.
BT, before we go any further, we should mention how much we love the contributions of our director of scouting here, Craig Smith, who's been through a tough time, but as you can see, he's pulling through it very well. Strong guy. But what is it about you two's relationship that works so well with a few different teams for so long?
Well, to be honest with you, Rod, I only got a chance to work with Smitty in Saskatchewan. I wanted to hire him in Winnipeg, but this is going to sound bad, but we just didn't have enough budget money to do it. We weren't financially that strong at that point. So I've always wanted to work with him. So when I got to Saskatchewan, Smitty, and you know this better than I do because you remember it better than I do, but I think the day I called you, you'd gotten let go by BC at the time, the exact day, I think. So
exact day.
It worked out pretty well. So, excuse me, Smitty's the kind of guy that he just does his job and he does it very well. He's very underappreciated, I think, in most of the teams he's been with. I valued him a lot because no matter who the GM is at any team, or head coach for that matter, you're only as good as your staff, right? And I think if you don't have good staff around you, whether you're the GM or the coach, you're not going to be successful. So Smitty brought a lot of success to Saskatchewan. He didn't get a lot of credit for it either.
It's kind of funny because we knew each other for a long time. We knew when I was coaching UBC, you would come out to see practice and, got to meet him back then. So we knew each other and we'd give each other a call and all that kind of stuff. And one of the darkest days was I got released from Hamilton and that day, and I had to go pick up Kathy, and I was just I was upset. It was the first time really I had ever gotten released. And so I came home and we were going to open up the garage door, and the phone rang inside, and Kathy said, "Hey, it's Richard Harris." So I said, "Richard Harris." I said, "Okay, well, hey, Richard, how you doing?" "Hey, somebody's going to call you with the initials of BT." And I thought, BT, who the hell's that? And and then all of a sudden, so I go inside and I'm waiting for the call. And Brendan called, and he said, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm doing, "Well, not too good. I got released today from BC." He said, "You did?" He said, "Now I don't have to call Wally to ask for permission." And I said, "Permission for what?" And he said, "Well, I want you to come to be with Saskatchewan." Well, I think my head hit the roof, and this guy is one of, like, I've been in a lot of organizations. This guy's one of the best to work with, and the guy who's kind of hidden, as far as the GM is concerned. It's amazing the amount of knowledge that this guy has, and it was so much fun. The only thing I didn't like is when he got Mr. Pibb chocolate sauce, and he'd mix that up, and it was kind of crazy.
Mr. Pibb.
Well, Shivers used to put peanuts in it.
Oh yeah, I
put peanuts in that stuff.
We were
At least
down
I
in
didn't put peanuts in it.
I was down in Dallas at a free agent camp, and Shivers got his Coke, and he get peanuts, and he puts it in the Coke, and I said, "Roy, what the hell are you doing? Putting peanuts in my Coke, for crying out loud."
It's an American thing.
Yes, it's crazy.
Yeah.
BT, I've never had a chance to ask this. I'm going to ask you today. The pressure of 2013, you honestly didn't display any outward signs that it was as immense as, I'm sure looking back, you realized that it was. What was that to deliver in this province? And as I've said since, you and Chaim delivered. That should be your legacy. But what was it like on the inside with that amount of pressure?
Rod, for most of the year, it wasn't bad because we were just going through the year just like it was every other year. But the more, when those stands got put up, it was sort of like a reality check, like, oh, yeah, okay, there's something coming here. So as the year went on, it got ramped up quite a bit. And Mr. Hobson would always remind us that the Grey Cup was going to be here this year, remember? And I said, oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, oh, boy, what's going to happen here? But, yeah, it was a lot. There was no doubt about it. It was a big year for the team. It was a big year for me and Corey too, because we were starting to turn the team a little bit, and had we not been successful that year, we weren't very confident that both of us would survive, to be honest with you. So we knew the expectation was there. We didn't want to really admit to it or show it publicly, but once we hit October, I guess it was, and then we had that bar fight, all hell broke loose. So we got our ship righted just at the right time, fortunately, and we got it done.
It was very, although I don't know the intimate details, it was very creative how you put together a lot of those contracts and were able to put together that kind of a roster and back end some of those deals and manipulate, can I use that word? Manipulate the numbers to make sure that team was as competitive as it could possibly be to deliver what everybody knew was going to be the last time the Riders could or would ever be at Mosaic Stadium and be in a Grey Cup game. And I don't think you've ever gotten enough credit for that, because that was just such a work of art. And you had to know that there's going to be a price to be paid down the road, but the pressure to win was greater than that. And I shouldn't say nobody, but I think it gets undersold and appreciated around here sometimes.
See, Silver Fox, that's why you're so smart. That's why
I connect the dots on things that others can't. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no. I mean, first of all, I wasn't smart enough to come up with some of those ideas. I followed the lead of some of our other GMs in that league. So I got the idea, and you can't do it with a lot of guys. You talk about back ending the contracts, and, everybody talks about all those crazy figures they were going to make. What people also forget is what they made the previous year. So take a guy like Getz, everybody was saying, oh, he's making $235,000. Yeah, well, if the geniuses of those people would say, what did they make the year before? He was making 60. So you take the average, and that's how that stuff works. So, yeah, I mean, I know I'm not dumb. I heard all the notion of that we just bought a team and everything, but if it was that easy, every team should do it every year, right? So it took a lot of creative accounting. There's no doubt about it. There was no cheating, but it was creative, and I think since then the league might have adjusted some of those rules. But they call it a Ponzi scheme, or all the skeptics can do whatever they want to say about it. But again, like I say, other teams have done it, but we only had to do it with 4 or 5 guys, and as it turned out, it all worked out. And at the end of the day, you guys all know this, none of this matters unless you win. Because if you lose, it's all irrelevant anyway. So you got to win to make it worth your while in anything you do.
What I found interesting during that year was all the different pieces that you put together, just with regards to some of the signings, and some of those guys just fit in so nicely. And walking in that locker room, it was just an amazing locker room with a bunch of guys that were excellent players, guys like Ricky Foley, and you got Chick. G-Roy, which was just an amazing, all these guys that you had.
D.A., Ray Williams.
Yeah.
There was a lot of big personalities
Big
there.
time.
That's why I give Chaim a lot of credit. And he won Coach of the Year because of this, Brendan. That wasn't easy on him either.
Yes. No. Managing those crazy ducks sometimes was holy man.
Yeah.
Like I'll never forget. Corey Sheets came in my locker room, in my office. Smitty, you were gone home. It was Labor Day weekend. We were playing Winnipeg on Labor Day, and it was the Saturday before the Sunday game. This is a true story, to be honest with you. And I thought I was the only one in the building, and in comes Sheets, and he's in his jersey, believe it or not, and he's got his fisherman's hat on, and he's eating a hot dog. This is about 2:30 in the afternoon, and I'm like, what the heck? And he's coming to see me, and I'm like, does he want to watch a football game or something? And he comes in here, and he's fired up. He's madder than a hornet, and I'm like, oh, no, what is going on here? So he's all ranting and raving because Maz and the crew in the front office wouldn't let him sell his T-shirts on the bricks before the game the next day because he was going for that 2K or whatever. So he'd gotten these T-shirts made up. So the front office had stopped that from happening, and I'm like, we've got our best player sitting here in a jersey eating a hot dog less than 24 hours before the Labor Day game, and I'm like,
and he wasn't going to play, right?
Correct. So. Luckily enough for me, Chaim was still in the building. I don't know how or why. He probably came back because he knew something was going on. So he comes in here into my office, and Rod, it was priceless. Chaim and Corey Sheets are going at each other, and I'm like, is this pro football right now? Like, I've got a guy eating a hot dog, and the coach and the player are yelling at each other over T-shirts. And the next day, Sheets goes out and plays the game of his life. So, I mean, managing the personalities, there's one example I can give you, and it's just like, oh boy. And that's just one of many. Smitty, you know all those stories. I mean, holy cow. It's being a GM is general managing, and it's not necessarily football on the field either.
It's no different in the meetings with Freddie Kitchens, Baker Mayfield, and OBJ right now, or Mike Mayock and Antonio Brown and Chucky. It's personalities, as you know, BT. So, yeah, it's for sure. And you guys found a way to come out on top. Lastly, before we let you go, you are in another pressure cooker in Winnipeg. And I think they are in a pressure cooker there at, what are they, 9-4? Coming out of the game they blew last week, and all those guys were in the last year of their contracts. What's it like in Winnipeg right now? What are you seeing?
Cool. Again, I'm on the outside, and Smitty knows it because he worked there since I have. But I tell you what, I would presume there's a big expectation there this year, Rod. I think they're going to have to really make hay in the playoffs, make a good run for Wade Miller to be happy, I think. So I think the pressure's pretty high there. They're not hosting the game, but I think the expectations is pretty much the same, that you better get in it or else.
All right, BT. Anything else for these boys? Smitty's got something for you before I let you go.
I'm getting stronger. I'm getting closer to be coming back, so I'm going to be calling for a reference pretty quick.
Well, good. I'm hoping you do. I'm hoping your health is okay. Silver Fox, you can relate to this. I've always wondered about Smitty because sometimes, in that big head of his, there's a lot of air. So I wondered if the brain matter can really move around good enough. So
I got one other thing.
Called Smitty that.
I got one other thing. So, at the start of the year, the doctors, we always would have a test. And what they would do is they would take this straw and they put it in the ear. And they did that to Brendan, and it went right through this ear and went out the other ear. So
friendship that you can't buy.
I love the guy.
Brendan Taman and
Roddy, congrats on the show. Congrats on the show.
Thank you, BT. I appreciate it. I hope that you can find a way to watch it out there where you're at, because we do a lot of CFL talk, and I know you love hockey too. And by the way, we're big on breaking news here. Do you have any news that you can tell us about your status? I'm hearing things.
Oh,
are you? Well, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of farmers' fields out here that need to be moved around and cut, so I might be doing that soon enough. But we'll see. Who knows? That coach's cap doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, no kidding.
No kidding. Are you still feeding a deer?
Yep.
Apples?
I'm probably not supposed to say that. Yeah, apples. Every day they come in around 5 o'clock and they look at me and they wait until they're out there, or they'll get mad. So
well, Rod will
it's
cut
like
this.
having a dog.
Rod will cut this from the show.
Yeah, I don't need any environmental people coming at my door. But
The
yeah,
A and
it's a pretty
W
cool area
people
to
are
live.
watching.
Yeah, the A&W, the Apple Burger
Oh,
coming next.
geez.
Okay,
I heard
BT,
about that.
thanks, my man. Thanks for the kudos and,
Yeah,
and
take it
keep in
easy.
touch. Really enjoying your writings in the Leader Post.
It's amazing what people can do when they put their mind to it, because I never thought I could write a word, let alone a column.
You're watching Rod Pedersen on demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.